Yeah, what's your name? Back up, I said.
Go home or get arrested.
What? Back up!
Once Portland police declared last night's protests unlawful,
Put your hand on your back.
they began handcuffing demonstrators. But there have been no arrests yet over the shooting on Saturday, which left a supporter of far right-wing group Patriot Prayer dead. It followed a night of unrest where hundreds of Trump supporters clashed with protesters using vehicles and paintball guns. There are now fears of further violence if retribution is sought for the killing, which police haven't linked to the fighting between rival groups. The president applauded the caravan of his supporters on Twitter and wrote, "Rest in peace, Jay," retweeting a tribute to the victim identified as Jay Bishop, also known as Aaron J. Danielson, according to Patriot Prayer. Portland has descended into chaos, he said, because of its Democrat mayor. That mayor is Ted Wheeler, who in turn blames Donald Trump.
It's you who have created the hate and the division. Your campaign of fear is as anti-democratic as anything you've done to create hate and vitriol in our beautiful country.
But whose country is it? After a summer of unrest following the police killing of George Floyd in May, with scores of rallies and protests against racial injustice, some of which ended in destruction. The president says this is Joe Biden's America, painting those protesting as dangerous agitators and anarchists. Joe Biden says it's Donald Trump's America. He is the one in the White House, and that undecided voters should ask themselves, has this administration not just allowed racial tensions to deepen, but encouraged them to?
We are in the battle for the soul of this nation.
It's not a new theme. This is his video announcing his candidacy last year. It focused on the deadly Unite the Right rally of 2017, where white nationalists descended on Charlottesville.
And they were met by a courageous group of Americans. And a violent clash ensued. And a brave young woman lost her life. And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides.
3 years later, 2020's racial reckoning.
Shut it down!
And protesters are still on the march. Kenosha, Wisconsin has seen a week of violence. In fiery demonstrations over the police shooting of Jacob Blake, a teenage Trump supporter was charged with fatally shooting 2 protesters. It's a swing state. The president is heading there tomorrow, he says, to help the city heal and rebuild.
From my perspective, right now is not the time. Presidents and are always welcome in the community, but the timing, I think, is not really a very good timing.
Nor is it a good time to take sides, according to Joe Biden, whose response to the Portland shooting was to condemn violence unequivocally on the left and the right, and to challenge the president to do the same.
Dani Isdale. And we can go now live to our Washington correspondent, Siobhan Kennedy. Siobhan.
Well, if we take a step back, what we're seeing here is a battle for the suburbs and for white suburban voters who play such a key role in all US elections. Successive presidents from Richard Nixon on have lent on this theme of crime and law and order as a way to appeal to the suburbs. It's exactly what Donald Trump himself did in 2016. And it's what he's doing again now, because he knows he's lost a lot of that suburban support in the past 4 years, and he needs to win it back if he's to take the White House in November. So it's why you're seeing him so aggressively frame these riots as a democratic problem in democratic cities run by democratic mayors and governors. And he's framing, of course, the protesters as radical left-wing anarchists. The worry for Joe Biden, though, is that's a strategy that appears to be working. In recent days, the polls are tightening in favour of Donald Trump. And it's a worry for Joe Biden's team. It's why they're pushing him out in recent days. And today especially, where he's made what many see as a key speech, where he's trying to persuade voters that Donald Trump is trying to scare them and to remind them that it's Donald Trump in power. All this is happening on his watch, Donald Trump's watch, not Joe Biden's. Let's hear from him now in the last few minutes.
These are images of Donald Trump's America today. He keeps telling you, if only he was president, it wouldn't happen. If he was president, He keeps telling us that he was president, you'd feel safe. Well, he is president, whether he knows it or not. And it is happening. It's getting worse. And you know why? Because Donald Trump adds fuel to every fire.
Well, the president was asked not to go to Kenosha, Wisconsin tomorrow by the governor and the mayor. He is going anyway. His people, his team say they have reached out to the family of Jacob Blake to try and meet with them tomorrow. But Jacob Blake's lawyer says that they have received no such contact. Let's see if the two do meet tomorrow when the president lands.
We shall be watching, Siobhan. Thanks very much. Now then, the first ever commercial flight from Israel to the UEA has landed in Abu Dhabi, marking the implementation of a historic US-brokered peace deal between the two countries. The Star of David adorned the El Al plane as it made the 3-hour trip, carrying a delegation of high-ranking Israelis and US officials. Israel and the UEA agreed earlier this month to work towards what they called normalization, which would make the UEA the third Arab nation to have full relations with Israel after Egypt and Jordan.